Hey, we're here with Jason Carter, and we're going to talk about the new album that's being released November 4th, the Lowdown Hoedown.
Yeah.
Uh, and it is quite a hoedown. I've been listening to the album, and it's really interesting. We were talking before we started the interview about some of the other people you'd played with, and on this album, you kind of have them returning the favor. Tell us who all appears on this.
Oh, Lance. Man, let me look at a. I might do better if I go down the line with a. Say like on the. I just sent this to somebody. Now, who would I have done that? Oh, I know. Cool. I can. The band. I'll just go down the line. King of the Hill is Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush, Dennis Crouch, and Cody Kilby. Russ Carson is playing banjo. Russ plays with the Ricky Skaggs band. Uh, 6 o'clock Train and a Girl with Green Eyes is Jerry Douglas, Sam Bush, Dennis Crouch, and Cody again. No banjo, and I had Billy Strings come in and sing harmony, and Billy played like the backup guitar. All the fills and stuff you hear is Billy playing backup. Um, I originally had just had him. I didn't know who to sing tenor or have sing a duet with me on this, and it was low, and I texted Billy and sent him the song. He's like, "Yeah, man, that's in my range. I'll be glad to do it." And he came, and I didn't want to get rid of Cody Kilby's guitar on it. I thought Cody just did a fantastic job. I didn't want to change the feel. I liked how everything felt about that tune. So yeah, so I just added Billy, so I have two guitars on there, two of my favorites. So anyway, to keep going, Likes of Me, uh, it's me and Dale McCoury singing the duet on there, and Marty Stewart is playing mandolin. Scott Vestal is on
Now,
band.
now this is not just for people that haven't heard the album. This isn't the likes of me that people might be familiar with from, Billy Strings does the cover of it, and Tony Rice uh,
Yeah,
did it. But this is the old, uh, isn't this an old Conway Twitty maybe?
man, I don't know the writers. I would have to look up the writers on this, but I thought it was guys that was uh, I don't know. I don't know who did it. I got it from Marty Stewart. So years ago, I remember seeing this song on a video, like on CMT or TNN or whatever the station that was playing those back then. But it was a song of Marty's, and I had this. I had it wrote down, and I've just kept it like in my notebook. And then whenever I went to record, I found this written down. And I looked the song back up, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember this. It's a great song." And I thought about having Marty sing with me, and I wasn't sure if I wanted a trio or I kind of wanted to sing it myself. And then I got Dell to sing harmony, and Marty just to play mandolin. So I didn't actually use him singing, but just playing mandolin, and he played so good. It was so great what Marty did.
But you ain't never been loved by the likes of me. I'd like to be a tool beck and call. I'd like to stay around for the long haul. Starting tonight, I'd like to make sweet memories. You ain't never been loved by the likes of me.
The other special guests, I'll kind of go down the line. Tim O'Brien is on Paper Angel. Dust Bowl Dream is Bronwyn is playing twin fiddles with me on there. Bronwyn Keith Hines, and Sarah Jarose is singing the harmony, and it's I could talk all day about Sarah Jarosz, her singing. When she came into the studio, we she was perfect from the first track. It was just amazing, just how great she was. Anyway, we can go back into that later if you'd like, but she was just fantastic. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole record is Sarah Jarosz singing on there. Hoedown from My Lowdown Rowdy Ways is a Danny Barnes song. Danny plays banjo on this. My other special guest is my friend Dierks Bentley. It's the only song on the record that I traded verses or gave somebody like a featured singing part. So me and Dierks traded the verses on that. Good Things Happen. Aoife O'Donovan sung the harmonies on there. Basically the same band. Queen of the Nashville Nights is Vince Gill with singing. Kissimmee Kid is the Vassar Clemens fiddle tune. It's the only instrumental on the record, and Marty Stewart is the mandolin player on there. So I've had Marty on 2 songs. You Led Me to the Wrong is Tim O'Brien singing the harmony. Highway 52 is Joe Mullins. Joe didn't play banjo. Scott Vestal played banjo. I added Joe later. I was needing somebody to sing the harmony on it, and Joe was, to me, the obvious choice. I kind of grew up close to Joe, up around Highway 52, and all the towns in that song is close to where I grew up. They're talking about Ohio, but I was across the river in Kentucky. And Joe was from Ohio. But anyway, it's a Dave Evans song, and Dave played all the festivals and all that around when I was growing up. So, and then Birdsong is the Grateful Dead song, and I used the Travelin' McCourys on that one, and used the Travelin' McCourys on Midnight Flyer. But the special guest on Birdsong, well, the Travelin' McCourys, of course, are a special guest, but Jonathan Fishman from the group Fish played percussion, played drums. So
now, how did you pick the songs? What?
I don't know. Just they all have a different story. King of the Hill. I don't know which one came first. I do this other Bruce Hornsby song called White Wheeled Limousine. And we recorded that with the Travelers. It's not come out yet. But King of the Hill, I think I had gave credit to Cody Kilby for turning me on to this song. But Cody turned me on to White Wheel. And how I found King of the Hill, some reason I was driving. It was probably like a trip to the airport, and I went and picked up our sound man's car to out of the parking lot to take everybody home, and this song was playing in his car, King of the Hill, Bruce Hornsby, and that's where I heard that. And I thought, man, this would be a great bluegrass song. So simple as that, and then I started working on it. Myself and Cody Kilby started working on this tune, and it's like, man, this is a great bluegrass tune, And
Oh, I'm leaning on a rail, letting my eyes roam over the plain. Oh, I'm laughing on my brain, feeling like a captive on a long chain. Watch the people pick up sticks, the big boss man cracks his whip. Serious, but we laugh to keep from crying. Oh, crying. Spouting out the company line, everything here's just fine. Says he cares about me, but he's lying. Oh, lying. And up in the big house, King of the Hill.
The 6 o'clock train and A Girl with Green Eyes.
That's a John Hartford song that you don't hear a lot.
Yeah, well, at one time in the Travelin' McCourys show, we were doing like a John Hartford medley where I was playing like I don't remember what it was, but it was it was a couple songs, and maybe it was just one or two. I thought I had a couple John Hartford tunes in there, but I don't know. Anyway, Mike Bubb said, "Hey, you should add this tune into your you guys should do this, you know. And it was the 6 o'clock train, and that's where our old bass player Mike, our good buddy, you know, he pitched me this song along with a couple more that I really liked that I might do at another time.
It's hard to concentrate on waiting, wondering if she will know my face, and trying to remember. It might have been the time or maybe it might have been the place. In an underground railroad station, just out of the rain. So much depends on the 6 o'clock train and a girl with green eyes.
Likes of Me is the Marty Stewart tune that I told you I heard when I was younger.
Right.
Then you have Paper Angel and Dust Bowl Dream, and both of those are written by David Greer. And the story, well, years ago I did another record, and this kind of everything's kind of went full circle for me in a sense, because this was like in the mid-90s when I moved to Nashville. I did a record for Rounder Records, and I did it at the same studio as I did this record, at Brent Truett's studio here in Nashville. And at that time in the 90s, I was hanging out with David a lot. And we just palled around and played a lot of music together, and just hung out, you know. And David had a bunch of songs. I recorded like 4 or 5 of his songs on my instrumental record back in the 90s. And so I wound up moving up here to Hendersonville, and then I moved to Cottontown and to Portland. I kept getting further and further out of town, and I just didn't come into Nashville a whole lot, you know, unless I was working. So this was for years. And so I moved back to Hendersonville, and I started going to town, and I started going to these local jam sessions, and who's still going there? David Greer. And so I started hanging out with David again, and he's like, hey man, I wrote these songs. And I was like, nothing's changed. He's still just killing it, you know. He's just working constantly and playing music constantly. And I was like, I'd love to hear what you got, you know. And David played me these tunes, and I was like, man, I love those, you know. It's like, does anybody cut them? And he's like, no. And I was like, I would love to record some of your stuff, you know.
There again, when I hear your voice or feel your warm embrace, and only in a picture will I ever see your face. Now you're just a paper angel, since the breath of life has passed, a silent paper angel in a faded photograph. In a faded photograph.
And so me and David started working on some of his tunes, and I used him on the record and recorded a couple of his songs.
So the banks are all closed, the tellers left town. I don't think they're coming back. So it looks like all my money's run away from here. Got this nickel in the pocket of my shirt. So it's another day of toil and strife, living this Dust Bowl dream. The pain and the anguish that I've been through, that you just couldn't even begin to believe. It doesn't really round here, just enough to teach. If I could feel a drop of rain, I'd fall down to my knees.
Hoedown from My Lowdown Rowdy Ways is Danny Barnes. And I've been a fan of Danny's and he's been a good friend for several years now. And I've been a fan of his music, you know. And I a while back I called Danny and I asked him if he had any songs, and he sent me some. And I was thinking about recording, and I didn't record. And then the next thing I know, these songs that he had sent me, he had put them out himself, which I'm glad he did, because which he would have probably recorded them anyway, whether I did or not. But I love his versions of all these songs. And so then I called him back and I was like, "Hey, Danny, you got any more songs?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, I got one called Hoedown for My Lowdown Rowdy Ways." And I was like, I want it. I don't even have to hear it. I love the title. And anyway, he sent me the song. I thought it was awesome. I just thought it was super cool. It's kind of got that Danny Barnes feel to it.
Got my picture in the paper, copping a plea. Got a brand new lawyer, the court appointed me. Tell my wife and my children I'm home in 90 days. I'm gonna throw a little hoedown for my lowdown rowdy way. I'll pick it.
So anyway, Good Things Happened is a Jamie Hartford song, John Hartford's son. And Dierks Bentley actually recorded this song as well back several years ago. But years ago, Dierks and I used to hang out quite a bit when he was going to college at Vanderbilt. And we would hang out at the Station Inn. And back in those days, this band, the Sidemen, which was the McCoury boys and Terry Eldridge and Gene Wooten, sometimes Mike Compton, Mike Bubb, Jimmy Campbell played fiddle, but they all had a band called the Sidemen, and they played down at the Station Inn, and Dierks would come down. That was Tuesday night. Also in Nashville at that time was Buddy Spiker's jazz or swing band. They played at a club called Wolfie's, so we would go from the Station Inn and then go down to see Spiker play. Then Wednesday nights was the Jamie Hartford band at this club, which is no longer there, called Wolfie's. And Jamie played. Jamie wrote this song called "Good Things Happen," and he played it down there every week. So we heard this song, and we just, I don't know. I loved everything that Jamie, just all that stuff. You know, it was so much great music in town back then, and I'm sure there still is right now. But that was "Good Things Happen" is from back in that era.
The world is cool, but I don't care. When you have flowers in your hair, I see color, I hear sound, and good things happen.
So that's where that come from. Midnight Flyers, a bluegrass. Well, Paul Kraft wrote the song. The Eagles did it, but I heard the Osborne Brothers. So it's just like a standard bluegrass tune to me.
Midnight Flyer, engineer, won't you let your whistle blow? Midnight Flyer, I paid my dues and I feel like traveling on.
Queen of the Nashville Nights is another one I've had like in a notebook for several years. Sean Camp wrote this song, and I can't believe that nobody's recorded it. I always thought this was like a great story song. But this was back again, like in the mid-'90s. I remember going to Sean's house, and we were jamming, and I was asking him for songs, and this was on one of the CDs he gave me that he had wrote the songs that he was pushing, you know, and I don't think anybody ever recorded it. So I'm glad I got to do it.
She rules Music City like she used to rule my heart. She steps out of the limo when the paparazzi start. She flashes the cameras left and right. She's the queen of the Nashville night.
Kissimmee Kids of Vassar Clemens, instrumental. And for me to pick out, I didn't want to do an all instrumental record, but I thought I should do at least one. You know, when I did this record, I was hoping it would be, when people would hear it, I kind of figured they expected it to be an instrumental record, just from my years of being a fiddle player in the Del McCoury band. But I wanted to sing everything, you know. But I needed an instrumental, and it kind of seemed fitting because I'm a huge Vassar Clemens fan. To record one of Vassar's songs, and this is one that I've loved since I was a little kid, and so I tried my best to do it's a cheap imitation of Vassar. Led Me to the Wrong is Ola Belle Reed, and I got into Ola Belle Reed's music from being in the Del McCoury band. She wrote High on the Mountain for Del, along with Undone in Sorrow for Over Yonder in the Graveyard. I've endured several other songs. I got into, and I started digging deep into Ola Belle's music, and loved it. And I thought there were several songs that she did that I really liked. This one I thought suited what I was doing for this record. So that's, and Tim O'Brien sang on it. So that's.
Oh, honey, you led me to the wrong. Some people's born with silver and gold. Others have husbands and wives. I never had a thing in this whole wide wicked world. Now I'm losing my life. Now I'm losing my life.
That's where that one came from. Highway 52 is, when I was a kid, my dad was a musician, played bluegrass, and we'd go to bluegrass festivals and you'd see Dave Evans. And my dad had several Dave Evans records, and I can remember at home we would sit and listen to those records, and we all loved it. And as a kid, this song really struck me because it's about the area that I grew up, and it talks about Cincinnati, the old Queen City, to New Boston. New Boston is Ironton, Hanging Rock. All those towns are in Ohio, right across the river from where I grew up. I would pass there going to Portsmouth or going to Huntington, West Virginia, or Ashland, Kentucky is kind of, well, it was on the other side of the river. But as a kid, it was kind of cool that, you know, it's like, oh man, this guy, whoever this star is that's put out this record, you know, and Dave Evans was a star to me, because that's, you know, that's who we were listening to all the time, and he was incredible, one of the best singers I've ever heard, and he was singing about our hometown, you know, so it was way cool. And I never thought about doing the song until we played Cincinnati, and I actually drove to the gig with intention of playing golf for a couple days, staying in Cincinnati, or I don't remember where we played the next day, but it was like not far away, so I had plenty of free time in between shows, so I took my golf clubs, and whenever I got into Ohio and got off the interstate, I got onto Highway 52, and I followed the Highway 52, and the venue was right off Highway 52. So when we get there and I do the sound check, I was like, fellas, we should do Highway 52. It's right there. You know, it's fitting for us to do it. So we did it on the show that night. I knew the words because I'd been hearing it since I was a kid. And yeah, so we did that one. And I wound up recording it.
From the old Queen City to New Boston town, iron and cold hanging rock. I've made every stop, I've played every station, while traveling there on Highway 52. So tell me, my love, tell me, my darling, what are you gonna do if you don't love me or care about me? I'll be heading down on Highway 52.
Birdsong is one of the Grateful Dead songs I've been doing with the Travelers. When we do our Grateful Ball, and Jonathan Fishman played drums, and it was great to tie him into it because the whole Del McCoury band connection with Fish from whenever that was, like 2000 or 99 or whenever we played their festival in Oswego, and they had just they were doing like Beauty of My Dreams, one of Dale's songs, on their show. That's how the connection of our band and Fish kind of came together. And Jonathan come down and played shows with the Del McCoury band, played the Ryman with us, played IBMA recently with us in the last 5 years or 6 years, 7 years, something like that. He also played with the Travelin McCourys a couple things, and he's incredible. His feel is great to play with, and yeah, so it was super to get him to be able to play on it.
All I know is something like a bird within her sing. All I know, she sang a little while and then flew on. Tell me all that you know, I'll show you. Snow and rain, snow and rain.
Through all this whole process, it's still like whenever I think about it, I can't believe that that all these people said yes. You know, so it's mind blowing to me. You know, it's just like I get the idea and get the wild hair to do a record, and I finally make it happen, and I start calling people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, be right over." It's like a simple.
And you know, like you mentioned your instrumental record back in the '90s, but you know, what motivated you to finally do a solo album? You know, full blown with your vocals and everything.
Well, you know, I've been singing more. I've featured more with the Travelin McCourys singing, and I don't know. You always need more songs, and some of these songs too. I didn't know if it would be right to do on the Travelin McCourys record. You know, so I thought I would just do my own, and I think being like the pandemic, you know, we had all this time off, and of course I was playing a lot of music with Bronwyn, and we were doing stuff, and we had a lot of time to work up new songs, and I would play guitar and sing some, and I would start working on a new tune or something, and then it's like, you know, I've got a bunch to record, and I should do this now while I have the time. You know, and I think that was a big part of it. For a long time, I always thought about doing another record, and for all those years, I always thought I would do like another instrumental record. And I thought if I do that, I'm just going to put it out myself. I don't need a label. I don't need the support of a label. And that was the thought behind this. And then I do this record, and I put it out. I wound up putting it on my start my own record label and put it out myself. Uh, I um, Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I was more so, I am doing a little tour for this show, but for if I was going to be, if I was thinking about being a touring band, maybe I would have went with another label, or try to find somebody to get a little support from a record label. But I didn't think that I really needed that. This day and time, you can do a lot of this stuff on your own, you know. Uh, so that's kind of how that came about. But I think back to your question, I think it was because of the pandemic, all this time that I had, uh, because it's through the years it was always something. You know, there was always something that got in the way, whether it was the schedule, being too busy, which was a lot of the time, and then the other thing was I wanted to put it out myself, and then so to do that, you know, it takes money and a pretty good chunk of money to put down to pay everybody and get everything rolling. And it just seemed like for the longest time something would happen. I would have this idea, I'm going to record, and I'm going to record soon, and then something would happen, and I would I'd spend all the money that I saved up for the record, and I was like, oh, I'll put it on the back burner for now, and then next thing you know, that was 1996, and now I'm finally getting to do this. So it was to the point where it's like I have to do it. You know, I have to do something now. It's
You mentioned having that you're going to tour behind us, and the announced tour right now is pretty, you know, relatively small and regional, mostly down in the southeast.
right.
Any chances that we're going to see any expansion of that or any future dates?
Man, I would hope so. Yeah. It it's kind of I would be into it, and I would like to play up in the Northeast. I would like to go to Colorado. I'd like to go to California. Uh, I would love to go all over and play. But the thing is, I'm a part of two very successful bands, and I feel like I'm lucky to have this time right now to be able to go out and tour for my own stuff. So that I think it's not from not wanting to do it, but I think what would possibly keep me from touring more would be lack of time, depending on how busy we are with Dell and the Travelin McCourys. That's my top priorities, of course. Any of the shows that I do under my own name will kind of be a special thing. I don't know how many that I'll get to do, but I don't know. I'll see how these go, and we're already working for some more in February because I have some other time off. So we're working on that right now. And then there's always time, you know, and there could be other festivals or something like that I might be able to get on as well.
Who are you taking with you on this tour?
On this tour, this time it's Cody Kilby and Alan Bartram from the Travelin McCourys. Ashby Frank is playing mandolin, and Corey Walker is playing banjo. They're both fantastic musicians, singers, and players. And it'll just be 5-piece. So, yeah.
Now you mentioned maybe getting on some festivals. You got any ins at Delfest?
I don't know. I don't know. I would love to do that, and I had talked with our manager, our manager, yeah, but about he helps run Delfest, and a couple of years ago he mentioned something to me about possibly throwing something together. This was even before I had a record, you know, and I was thinking, man, it would be hard to find the right group of people. But there would be, I think I could make it happen. You know, I think I could put what I'm saying. I think I could get a band together and all that, and have a good show. But I don't know. I don't know if they would be. I don't know if Delfest would be interested in Jason Carter.
You might also have some ins to open for Molly Tuttle.
Maybe so. I don't know. That would be a blast as well. I love that.
Well, I could tell you, you know, we'd certainly would love to see you get up to the Northeast a little bit to play this stuff, because Really dig the album. It's really good stuff. Lowdown Hoedown. Now, the title just kind of spilled right out of that song, didn't it?
Well, it come from Dirks. Danny Barnes wrote the song "Hoedown for My Lowdown Rowdy Ways," and somewhere in the song, I think it made the record. I think we were talking back and forth some on the track, and Dirks somewhere in there said, "This is a lowdown hoedown" or something like that, And the guy that co-produced this with me is Brent Truitt, and I told you he was the engineer as well. But Brent was like, "Oh, there's your title," And I was like, "Yeah, had planned on calling the record "Hoedown for My Lowdown Rowdy Ways," but we shortened it."
All right, man. Well, it's a great new album, and congratulations, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us today.
Absolutely,
Uh,
man. Absolutely, yeah. Sorry to get so long-winded on y'all right out of the chute, but
not a problem. Not a problem. Thanks,
cool.
man. We'll talk to you soon.
I hope so, man. You take it easy.
All right, thanks. See you now.